The hotel's midnight delivery. I couldn't help but feel guilty when my wife and I nestled into our hotel room for my work meeting. She was 5 months pregnant, and her discomfort was increasing by the day, particularly at night. I knew I should have been more attentive, but work had taken over. It was a cold night in a strange city, and our hotel room was a long way from any late-night dining alternatives. With her constant cravings, my wife had her heart set on a specific dish from a neighboring restaurant. She'd been talking about it for days, and I couldn't deny her this simple pleasure tonight. We discovered that the eatery provided delivery by conducting a simple online search. It was after midnight, but they claimed to deliver until the wee hours of the morning. We thought that was the ideal solution. I dialed the number and proceeded to place our order. The voice on the other end was polite but strangely distant, as if it belonged to someone who was only half asleep. I discounted it as an unintended consequence of working late-night shifts. They promised me that our dinner would arrive soon. My wife's agitation rose as we waited. She paced around the room, clutching her tummy. The minutes passed, and there was still no sign of our dinner. When I contacted the restaurant again, the person on the other end was less patient, almost furious. "We're on our way," was the brief reply before the queue went dead. After another half hour, my wife's cravings had turned into frustration. I contacted the restaurant again, my annoyance mirroring theirs. "Where the hell is our food?" I insisted. "We're almost there," the voice on the other end said calmly. "Simply wait." I tried to ignore the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. It was late, and the restaurant might have been understaffed. But as the minutes passed, I couldn't shake the rising fear that we could perhaps not get our food due to the delivery guy getting lost, and the restaurant eventually closing. Finally, a knock came on our hotel room door. I ran to respond, happy that our supper had arrived, but when I opened the door, what I saw sent shivers down my spine. A man in an old delivery outfit clutched a plain bag of food. His eyes were hollow, and his countenance was expressionless. Something didn't feel right about him, but I chalked it up to tiredness. I took the food, paid, and hurriedly closed the door, ready to eat and forget about this weird experience. My wife's hunger seemed to subside as we unwrapped our food. I couldn't blame her for losing her appetite. The meal, which had once been so appealing, now appeared unappealing and virtually unrecognizable. We took a few timid tastes before putting our forks down, due to the unusual taste and texture. It felt as if the food had been reheated several times, losing more of its original flavor and quality each time. I had no idea that our late-night meal would develop into a terrifying nightmare that would haunt us for years to come. In anguish, my wife gripped her stomach. Panic poured through me as I saw her writhe in pain. I called the restaurant again, demanding an explanation for our meal's poor state and the toll it was taking on my wife. The voice on the other ear was chillingly controlled, saying, "We never sent any food to your room." As I realized the enormity of the situation, I was overcome with fear. That dish was not brought by someone from the restaurant. My wife's suffering increased as I raced to her side. It was obvious that something was seriously wrong. I dialed the hotel front desk with shaky hands and explained our problem. They promised to send someone up right away and instructed us to lock the door and remain inside the room. As we waited for assistance, minutes felt like hours. My wife's misery was awful, and there was nothing I could do to help her. When the hotel personnel came, they summoned an ambulance for my wife. I was left behind to give a statement to the police while she was brought to the hospital. They were as perplexed as I was by the unexpected change of events. The CCTV cameras at the hotel revealed nothing strange, and there were no clues to pursue. My wife and I didn't get the cuisine we wanted that night, but what we did get was far more disturbing. We still don't know who the mysterious delivery person was or what their goals were. The encounter left us with an unshakable sense of vulnerability, reminding us that danger may lurk in the most unexpected places, even when you're just trying to satisfy a midnight need. It was almost the end of my delivery shift, and it had been one of those exhausting evenings. I was desperate to end the day's fatigue, but the clock had inexplicably crept past midnight. All I could think about was the warm embrace of the pizza parlor. I had no idea that my last delivery would take me far into the woods, and reveal a terrifying mystery that still looms large over my spirit. Arriving as late as its companion was the order itself, a big pepperoni pizza smothered in extra cheese that was headed for a campground deep in the wilderness. Unease murmured softly in the pit of my stomach as my automobile wound along meandering dirt roads. I felt as though the dense black forest would swallow me whole, and the deafening quiet only served to heighten my sense of impending doom. Eventually, the GPS navigation led me to a far clearing where I pulled over and let my car off. A campfire crackled against the night's engulfing blackness, casting unnerving shadows among the forest's tall sentinels. I grabbed the pizza box as I got out of my car, ready to make my last delivery of the evening. At the edge of the bonfire, I was met with an odd scene. A group of people huddled together, their faces hidden in the merry dance of shadows. With a warm smile on my face, I asked if they were the ones who had called for the pizza. They said absolutely nothing, which surprised me. With a sharp and unyielding glare, they focused into me, sending icy tendrils scuttling down my spine. The pizza box was in my hand, and I thought one of them would grab it. Still, the campers did not move, trapped in a spooky calm that lingered in the cool night air. They appeared to be playing an unsettling game, meant to make me uncomfortable. I opened my mouth to ask for money, hoping to break through the heavy silence, but a sinister murmur from the campers could be heard. The sound, a cacophony of voices conversing in low tones with cryptic and sinister language, slithered through the air like a terrifying serpent. Fear gnawed at the fringes of my awareness, forcing me to back away, my heart racing with every step. The campers watched me with their incomprehensible whispers, becoming louder and more disturbing by the second, their unblinking eyes ever alert. I was drawn into their dark game, and it became brutally obvious that they had no intention of paying me for the pizza. Panic was my sole companion as I turned and ran into the forest's cloaked embrace. To my astonishment, though, the shadows gave birth to additional campers, who moved towards me with a ferocious resolve as their evil voices grew louder and more focused. It felt like they were trying to scare me into walking away without paying me for the pizza I had brought. My flight was driven by panic, and I didn't stop until I was well away from that unsettling encampment. With my head knotted in a web of anxiety, I raced out from the eerie core of the woods, my automobile becoming my lifeline. As I made my way back to the pizza place, I couldn't get rid of the unsettling feeling that I had come upon something evil and mysterious in those woods. Who were those campers, and what sinister intent concealed the eerie, quiet, and menacing murmurs? That night's occurrences remained an inexplicable mystery that held a deep sense of dread within me. I told my manager about the strange experience when I got back, but the secrets of that woodland remain shrouded in mystery. The eerie recollection clings, a constant reminder that sometimes the worst horrors are evasive and beyond description. As a college student facing financial challenges, I decided to explore gig work as a way to earn some additional income. This decision brought me into the world of Uber Eats, where I found myself exploring the streets of our city on rainy nights, committed to delivering food to hungry customers. It was a simple occupation, but it was sufficient to cover the bills. On a rainy night, when the world outside was blurred by water, my GPS guided me to a delivery address that made me feel uneasy. It was a peaceful house, nestled at the end of a quiet road, surrounded by the serene stillness of a timeless forest. The only source of light was the gentle glow emanating from the house's worn windows, bravely pushing back against the approaching darkness. The gentle patter of raindrops on my car's roof created a soothing melody as I arrived at this intriguing location. The atmosphere felt noticeable, and my heart beat with a sense of caution. It felt like I was exploring a place untouched by time, peacefully wandering through its forgotten realm. Carrying my delivery bag, I calmly approached the house as rainwater gently flowed from my damp clothes. As my fingers gently approached the doorbell, a subtle sense of awareness enveloped me, as if there might be someone quietly observing from the tranquil shade of the towering trees. Each step towards the house seemed to bring a sense of entering into a realm of profound uncertainty. I gently knocked on the door, the sound softly echoing through the peacefulness of the rainy night. The raindrops gently fell, adding to the peaceful atmosphere, as my heart beat steadily. Inside the house there was a peaceful silence, a stillness that gently enveloped me. I gently knocked once more, slightly increasing the volume, feeling my heart beating steadily, each beat a hopeful request for answers. Yet there was a peaceful silence, as if the forest itself was holding its breath, anticipating an unknown revelation. I felt a slight unease, and a desire to find some peace began to emerge within me. As I turned back towards my car, I felt a sense of disappointment as I realized that I wouldn't be able to report the absent customer and complete my delivery. Unexpectedly, the steering wheel had become stiff, the car motionless, and a sense of unease washed over me as I struggled with unresponsive controls. I calmly glanced back at the house, observing through the gentle haze of the rain-filled darkness. However, there appeared to be no indication of any signs of life inside. The feeling of being surrounded by nature, alone in the heart of the woods, heightened the sense of caution I was experiencing. I noticed that my hands were trembling as I reached for my phone, but unfortunately, I couldn't find a signal. The rain gently fell, creating a soft blur outside. The forest surrounded me gently, with shadows growing slightly darker. My heart beat rapidly, each pulse a gentle reminder of my vulnerability. Despite having no other option, I gently opened the car door and calmly ran through the steady downpour, leaving the house and its secrets behind as I made my way back towards civilization. After what seemed like a long time, I eventually found a nearby road. I managed to get the attention of a passing car, although my heart was still filled with fear. I calmly reported the unusual encounter to the police, who arrived at the house to conduct an investigation. However, they didn't find anything out of the ordinary. The woman who placed the order mentioned that she was outside in the toilet when I arrived. To this day, I reflect on the mysterious events of that rain-soaked night. I'm wondering why my car felt like a confined space, and why the house in the forest made me feel so uneasy. The isolated dwelling is surrounded by mystery, reminding us that sometimes the scariest things can be found in unexpected places, and fear itself is a mysterious and unknown concept.